This is Beer in Front, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. I'll talk about some great beer, and I'll also talk to various people in and around the beer industry to get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Welcome to episode 206, the April 23rd edition of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and Beer in Front is a proud Odd Pods Media Network member. On today's show, I'll talk to Jerry from Lone Tree Brewing out of Colorado. They make some really good beer and launched a hop, Hemp Water, that I'll have later on in the show. I'll also have a collaboration between Alarmist and Sketchbook as part of my Drink Illinois Beer series. Illinois Craft Beer Week is coming up fast. If you haven't already grabbed your tickets for Beer Under Glass, go to illinoisbeer.org and get you some. I'll be here talking about my back while you do. So you just go grab the tickets and I'll talk about my back. So, I mentioned on the show last week that this procedure was canceled, big to do with workman's comp. And now they want me to see this other independent doctor. But in the meantime, they okayed me to see the doctor that I couldn't have the procedure from. So I go see him. So he's like, what happened? I'm like, you tell me. He's like, you have to go see, I guess they call it an IME, an independent medical exam or whatever. So he's like, who are you going to go see? I tell him, and he rolls his eyes. He's like, oh, brother. He's like, he's going to be fun, but he's like, don't worry about it. I'll handle it. He's like, I've seen you for months. I know all about your back. This person, somebody that doesn't know you, is going to look at you for 2 minutes and send you home and thinks he knows all the answers. So they now okay this procedure, and it's coming up along with this IME during Illinois Craft Beer Week. Don't you people know I'm busy? I got things to do during the week of May 3rd through the 10th, but I'm going to have to take time out now to go see doctors and fast. I'm not going to be able to eat or drink while I get this procedure. I'm angry about this. You couldn't have picked like the following week or whatever, but no. So I might be a little cranky in the middle of Illinois Craft Beer Week, but I'm going to do my best. In beer and beverage news, I had Becca on from Mortal Kombucha not that long ago. They were just named the official sports beverage hydration partner for the Ironman series, and that's really cool. Jack Daniel's is coming out with a hard tea as part of their country cocktails line. They're going to have 4 different flavors: original, peach, raspberry, and blackberry, so look for those. Go Brewing is coming out with a non-alcoholic chelada, so look for that at your stores. I'm excited to try that. Iron City and Mancini's Bakery out of Pittsburgh, they're teaming up for Iron City beer buns. These are going to be made with the spent grain, and it looks perfect for like any cheeseburger in the Steel City. So if you're in Pittsburgh, you got to check those out. The Brewers Association released their 2023 production numbers for the brewing industry. There's now 9,761 operating craft breweries here in the U.S., employing close to 200,000 people. Here in Illinois, there are 305 craft breweries, knocking out almost 400,000 barrels of craft beer. Some of the numbers that caught my eye were conglomerates like Tilray and Monster. With the acquisitions they had, they're now in the top 10. Athletic, the non-alcoholic brewery, they're now the 10th highest craft brewery in the country. Boston Beer is at number 2, and I always assume, because they're always at like number 2, but I just assumed that it included like Truly and Twisted Tea. But no, that's just beer. I know Boston does Sam Adams, obviously, and they also do Dogfish Head. But so, no, big ups to them. I didn't think their beer alone would be that high. Montucky Cold Snacks, they cracked the top 40, and they just make the one beer. I talked to someone from Montucky Cold Snacks a year ago, so check that out. But no, they're in the top 40 of craft breweries. With the success the last couple of years with brands like Montucky and Garage Beer, more and more craft breweries are embracing the American light lager. Even Boston Beer is going to come out with Samuel Adams American Light. I think that comes out next month in May. Now, this is going to be different than the Sam Light brand that came out, 10, 15 years ago that's been discontinued. This is just going to be like a pale golden light lager, so look for that. The Craft Beer Marketing Awards, they announced their winners last week. I was a judge in the best can label for 16 to 32 ounce beer cans. The one that I judged the highest, Anchovy Pale, took home the Global Award. Check out craftbeermarketingawards.com for a full list of winners.
We interrupt this program to bring you a news flash.
Michael Jackson's ghost seen at a Yankees game.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, now with a shrimp in every bite.
Lil Uzi Vert's head diamond has been sold on the dark web.
Stories like this and more can be found at the Ever Trending Story, a podcast where we peruse the news and write a fun fictional story for you.
Find us wherever you download podcasts and follow us on the socials at Ever Trending Pod, and we are proud members of the Odd Pods Media Network.
Lone Tree Brewing Company is based in Lone Tree, Colorado, and has a new second location in Parker. They've been around since 2011 and have won 5 Great American Beer Festival medals over the years. Last year, they came out with Ufloric, which is water infused with hops and hemp. Jerry Sciotti is joining me now. Jerry is a co-owner of Lone Tree and is their director of brewhouse operations. Jerry, thanks so much, brother, for taking time out today.
Thanks, Dave. Happy to be here talking all things beer and hop water.
How did Lone Tree get started?
Well, it's a funny story. So John Winter, he's our president, founder, CEO, all those big titles. I went to college with his son, Travis, and that's kind of how we met. So I've known John for over 20 years now. Travis and I went to school up at the University of Colorado. After college and through college, we were always beer enthusiasts. We started homebrewing together. When I was living with Travis for a short stint after college, we were homebrewing again. And John, would often hang out with us, have some beers, try to kind of inquire what we were doing. And he's a beer enthusiast himself. He's been all over the world as a pilot in a former life. Yeah. And he said, wow, this is really cool. Maybe I'll start getting into this. And all these years later, Lone Tree Brewing Company pops up just south of Denver.
He stole your idea and ran with it?
I don't know if it was my idea. We're all just kind of copying each other at this point, if you know what I mean.
So you mentioned you were a beer enthusiast. What was, if you can remember, the first craft beer that you had that wasn't like your normal, Bud Miller Coors, and you were like, oh no, this is what I need to get into?
Sure, yeah. For me, going to school up in Boulder for my undergrad, obviously a lot of exposure to Avery up there, New Belgium up in Fort Collins. So honest to God, the first, entry point I had to craft was maybe like a Fat Tire from New Belgium or a La Folie, which at the time I had never tasted, kind of a weird sour Flemish style of beer. So that really sparked my interest to see what else could be created out there. And yeah, all throughout college, I tried my best to, hit as many breweries as I could that were popping up. This was back in 2005, 2006. So kind of on the upswing of when a lot of things were really starting to get hot in the craft world. So yeah, I would say those are kind of my immediate introductions into the world there.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, growing up in that area, that's like a blessing, here, and I'm older, so craft wasn't big when, I started drinking. It was old style here, but yeah,
Sure.
you have some good beer in your fridge growing up there in Colorado.
Yeah, we were really fortunate, and over the years, of course, on a per capita basis, Colorado has always been, a top kind of a top state for, accepting new breweries and really growing the industry. And we have the Brewers Association there. They're headquartered out of Boulder as well. So obviously a huge advocate for our all of our organizations. So it was just kind of, you're just a sponge in Colorado. You're just around breweries so much, it's hard not to.
When I was introduced to you, I'm going through the website and I'm doing research, and I'm like, that logo looks familiar. So I was there actually pre-pandemic, maybe 2018, 2019. And
Okay.
I forget what I had. I don't know if I had the Mexican lager or not, but I'm pretty sure if it was around, like looking at the list of stuff, like my wife would have grabbed that peach pale that you have. But I'm like,
Sure.
I know this logo. I know I was there at one point.
Yeah, it all kind of comes back with
Yeah.
a sip of a beer.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Lone Tree brews a big variety of styles. Was that always like part of the plan for Lone Tree?
Yeah, I mean, plans are one thing. What happens in real life always is something different. I would say when John started this in 2011, and I came in shortly thereafter in about late 2013, 2014. At the time, I think we opened, 6, 7 styles.
Mm-hmm.
Now it feels weird when all 16 taps aren't full. Like we're being lazy or something, not providing the variety that people demand. So what I would say is we've always tried to be somewhat of a generalist, and back in the day, I thought that was a derogatory type of moniker for us, where we didn't hyper focus into one specific category or style or genre. But now that we're older, and now that we've survived a lot of the swings and the pandemic, I'm really glad that we are a generalist in the sense where we can touch on a little bit of everything, but we don't have to put all our eggs into one particular basket.
Yeah.
And we can experiment across many different styles, because not to knock anybody that really is super passionate about, one specific style, or sours or hazies or barrel-aged products. I think those are all great. And if it works for that particular entity, I think that's fantastic. But for us, what we've seen to work is to kind of touch on and highlight a little bit of what's popular in the moment, what we still want to hold on to, and what we value the most. So now that we are in this for 12 years, I think being a little bit of a generalist kind of works to our advantage.
Yeah, and plus, I mentioned in the intro that you won 5 medals at the GABF for 3 different beers. So, the brewers know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and it's these competitions are great, and it really validates a lot of hard work for the brew staff and everybody involved in the process. But what it comes down to for me when managing operations is I need to turn over the same, the same styles consistently over and over and over again. And I think that's really what gets lost, on a lot of people, is how hard that really is. We can come up with new recipes all the time. That's great. But there's a lot of really solid beers over the years that we like to keep consistent, and the quality needs to be there. So,
mentioning medals, the Mexican lager, that's taken home 3 different GABFs in the highly competitive American style lager. 3 times is not an anomaly. What are the keys to the success of that beer?
Dave, I think it's a very simple beer, and we didn't invent the style by any means. We, just like most craft brewers, we're really trying to put our spin on a historical style with some new techniques, some new ingredients available to us. But with that beer, that's a very simple beer with 4 grains and 1 hop,
Yeah.
and a very neutral yeast strain. And so there's really not much to hide in that beer. So really what I think it comes down to is just caring about every step of the process and making sure everything is clean, making sure the right procedures and temperature adjustments and, brewing procedures are right where they need to be every time. It's kind of like a golf swing.
Yeah.
If you can groove a golf swing, you generally know where the ball's going to go. And that's kind of what we try to do here. And we're very blessed that we have the quality ingredients that we can always rely on. I mean, very rarely do we ever have issues that are outside of our control, either from an ingredient standpoint or what we do in the brew house. So we're very lucky in that respect. But like I said, it's a very simple recipe. It's a very simple beer, but I think it's execution, and I think it's a lot of care from the brew house staff.
Would you consider that to be like the flagship beer for Lone Tree?
Well, I'll say that the numbers probably would support that because it's about 40% of everything that we produce now. Obviously, the tasting room, it's a little bit more balanced in terms of style when it comes to IPAs and maltier styles. But from a production standpoint, I mean, it's a very easy beer to describe to people who are maybe not used to craft beer.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of a nice entry-level beer because it's what everybody knows what beer looks like. It's yellow, fizzy, and clear.
Yeah.
So from that point, that's an easy sell. But like I said, it's just with the right ingredients and the right execution. It's something that really allows us to kind of pay the bills and experiment and do other things too.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier you opened up a second location. How's that been going?
It's going really well. I'm actually here right now doing some odds and ends, and we're having Colorado Pint Day at both locations. So
I saw that. That's a nice looking glass.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we participate in that every year, and it's pretty loud out there. I can hear it right now.
Yeah.
And so it's going very well. The town of Parker has really been receptive to our arrival, and we took this over on February 28th of this year, and 36 hours later we were open pouring beer through the taps. So it's been kind of a quick process, but we've been very, very happy with the result, and I think people enjoy the beer, and we're getting there slowly but surely, and it's been great to sell more beer out here too.
Excellent. I mean, Colorado and the Denver area, it's such a robust market. What do you think? I mean, we talked before, but what do you think are like the keys to good tap rooms and getting people into your place?
It's tough because, like I said before, and not like a defeatist way, but we're all kind of doing the same thing, and we're all trying to improve upon something a lot of great brewers and a lot of good tasting rooms have done in the past. I think one is your staff, and without, just like in any organization, if you don't have the right people in the right spots, it doesn't matter how good the product does. And I think that's been made very apparent to us many times over, that if we have the right staff, and we've been very fortunate to have a lot of people that have been with us 7, 8+ years in the tasting rooms, that when customers come in, they can recognize a face, they know it's going to be a friendly face, and they know the beer quality is going to be there. So if you don't nail those, 2 or 3 things right there, business is going to be difficult for you. So, and it just takes time to develop what events are going to do well for you, what beer releases are going to do well given the time of year. Obviously, it'd be kind of tough for us to roll out, a big multi imperial stout kind of when it's 100 degrees in Colorado in the middle of summer. So we really have to coordinate with kind of the seasonality in both locations to make sure, we're doing kind of a high percentage type of event or a release.
Now, both spots look really good. Like some places they're a brewery for beer geeks. Some places are a tap room for like the neighborhood. And from, being there years ago and from looking at the photos, it looks like you have like the best of both worlds. How did you manage to combine that?
Well, I think it comes down to, I have to give a lot of credit to John Winter himself here, because, when he opened Lone Tree 2011, there wasn't much down there south of the Metro Denver area. And, I said, why the hell are you going down all the way there? Denver's kind of probably the more central hub of where most of the beer drinkers are going to be. He's like, I'll be honest, Jerry, there's not much down there. And, from an overhead standpoint, acquiring a building to lease at the time was very reasonable. It's hard to find those reasonable spots now, but for what you get in Lone Tree at the time and the amount of space that we have, we're very fortunate to have that much tasting room space. Almost 4,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet, something like that. So by having that, we're able to host a lot of events. We can draw a lot of different types of, life events, whether it's, wedding receptions or we've had, celebrations of life. So we've been able to balance that with a lot of room in the brewery to grow as well, and to add tanks, to add fermentation capacity, and to be able to experiment from the brew house side. So what I will say is there's a lot of formulas out there to do a brewery or a tasting room, but John was very forward looking when he found enough space to be able to grow into it and to have that kind of feel that any event could be hosted at Lone Tree for hundreds of people, which is a good feeling.
What I noticed is, I don't know if you have it at the Parker location, but the original one in Lone Tree, you have a food truck there practically every night?
Yeah, for the last 12 years, we've been fortunate to have a good food truck following, because we've never had our own kitchen, and we've never really had that desire to be in kind of the restaurant side of the business. We know beer, and that's kind of what we want to stick to. So the food truck model, which has been adopted all over the nation, of course, really works out well for us, and it's a very symbiotic relationship where we want people to eat and have a good time and bring their families and have a beer, and the food trucks are more than happy to oblige that, and we're more than happy to provide the beer. So same with Parker, the Parker location, we do the same model as well.
All right, cool. Now, we talked about Ufloric that came out last year. I'm excited to hear about this. What can you tell me and tell everyone about Ufloric?
Yeah, well, it's kind of a weird story, and I'll try to keep it somewhat concise here. But I live in Southeast Denver, and I happened to be speaking with one of my neighbors across the street who was renting a house at the time, and he's a gentleman with a very kind of experienced chemistry background, and we got to talking, and he discovered that I was a brewer, and he was undergoing some research in the terpene world, so kind of the essential oils found in THC or hops or hemp, the cannabis world too, where he was doing some cancer research that kind of coincided with what he was able to apply to hop terpenes and hemp terpenes, and wondered if there were any applications for beer. And so I said, well, I'm willing to try anything, because there's a big non-alcoholic movement right now, and there's a lot of hop seltzers out here that are starting to kind of spring up. And I said, but I'll be honest, at the time, I hadn't found a hop seltzer that I particularly liked, or a hop water that was really kind of worth, paying the money for or drinking for a personal standpoint. So we began to develop Ufloric through a very proprietary process that this partner that we had working with it. And it's basically, like I said, it combines components of the hop plant and the hemp plant, and it's all in the terpenes and the essential oils and the flavor components that obviously give a lot of like citrus or piney flavor and aroma to beer. I wanted to apply that same concept to this Ufloric product that we developed, and I wanted it to be vastly different than most of the hop waters out there, because like I said, I hadn't really found a hop water that wowed me at all.
I make my own. I bought some from your Colorado neighbor, Billy Goat. But yeah, some of the commercial ones, they're okay, but nothing's like making me like, oh, I'm going to spend the same price that I would on a 6-pack of beer for this hop water. I mean, it's been good, but nothing's really wowed me in the commercial market.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was too, Dave. And like I said, Ufloric is unique because, like I said, a lot of smart people have been working on this process and the final product that we use and the concentrate that we use. And what I like about it is, so it's THC free. There's no cannabis in it. It's CBD free and obviously non-alcoholic. So that's the best of what everyone's looking for at the moment. However, the combination of the hemp terpenes and the hop terpenes kind of provide a little feel-good effect.
All right.
And that varies from person to person. But again, like I said, there's none of those components that are in there, but just through the kind of extraction process and the emulsification process, there's kind of a feel-good effect. And so that's why we felt that Ufloric was a different standalone product than basically just carbonating some water, adding some, hop oils or what have you, and calling it done. So that's really what I wanted to set it apart as, that it was something that kind of had an effect on people, but also carried a lot of the same flavors and beer components over from our world too.
Yeah, as someone who's subject to random testing, thank you for making this THC free.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of products in Colorado with that already in it.
Yeah.
We did not, we don't have the licenses or the legal capability to dive into that space, nor do we want to. So this was kind of a great compromise, or a good bridge into what I think is a really cool process. And like I said, it's a lot of people smarter than me have been working on this the science behind this for quite some time.
You have like a regular naked one that's just like the hop flavor and a couple other different flavors of Ufloric?
Yes. Yeah. So we rolled out 3 different flavor profiles. We did the naked version. That was just a straight hop and hemp terpene concentrate. Then we did a berry version with some other natural flavorings, and then a citrus version as well. The citrus version tended to be a little bit more popular, just because it had a nice bright effect to it. So we're going to continue to keep rolling it out and seeing how it does.
Looking at the can, I know you're sending me some that hopefully we get here in a day or so, but just looking at the artwork and at the front of the can, I didn't see the Lone Tree name on the front. Is that going to be like Ufloric's going to be a separate entity, or still part of the Lone Tree umbrella?
Yeah, good question. So we did this, and like I said, I'm a finance major and now a beer operations geek. So I slept a lot through my marketing classes in college, and so a lot of smarter marketing minds have kind of weighed in on this, and we decided to roll it out kind of as a separate brand. We do have on there that it is, it is produced and packaged at Lone Tree Brewing Company, but we didn't want it to be kind of the central, logo or the central ownership of the product itself, even though it is produced by us. We wanted to kind of see how it would do as a standalone brand. And not that we wanted to hide who made it or who did it, but like I said, I think maybe if people see it as a standalone product, they might be, especially in the NA world, we wanted to have there be no confusion that this was a true NA product.
Are there any other like plans in the future for any different type of Ufloric products to come out?
We wanted to dip a toe in the world with this right now and just kind of evaluate how it goes. We don't want to dive into it too much. We want to keep our powder dry for doing what we do best, which is, I think, making beer.
Yeah.
And we want to do this as a side project, see how it matured, how it grew, and if we can get it into the right markets and in the right hands of the people that will continue to pull it through for us. We'll see where it goes from there. But no, we're kind of in an R&D phase, and I'll continue to improve the product as we get feedback from people and see where it takes us.
Is because it's a non-alcoholic, can this be distributed more broadly than like a beer? Can you ship that? Could someone buy that online? Like they wouldn't be able to do the beer?
Technically, yes. I mean, we have a distributor in Colorado, and we have a distributor in Kansas as well, and they have exclusive rights to our beer brands in those territories. But because this is a non-beer product and it's a different kind of its own entity. Yes, we have the capability to distribute on a wider scale, and we do have the packaging capability to do this in volume. Obviously, we haven't seen that type of demand, spring up just yet. But this is kind of we're willing to kind of play this as a marathon and not, try to get too out in front of it at the beginning. But I think it just comes down to how receptive the market is for it. And, if, like I said, it's a great product. I drink them every day just because we don't typically drink, our product during the day. It's just for OSHA regulations and safety concerns. So this being an NA product, it kind of is nice to have around and still have a little beer component. So we're just going to see where it takes us, and we're excited about it. And I love talking about the chemistry behind it as much as I know, and the kind of the genesis of how it was created by the founder of it to have some wider widespread applications for certain types of cancer research and things of that nature.
Well, I know you're busy. I hear all the ruckus in the background, so I'm going to let you enjoy, Beer Week and drink out of that very nice looking glass. I forgot who I saw it from on Instagram. I'm like, oh, that's a cool glass. But,
yeah, I just heard I think we already sold out of the ones at our main facility. Maybe we didn't order enough.
All right. Well, Jerry, I thank you again for coming on and talk about Lone Tree and Ufloric. Check out Lone Tree Brewing Company and Ufloric. I'll list the links in the show notes. And later on, I'm going to have a Ufloric to talk about. But Jerry, thank you so much again, sir. I really appreciate you taking time out today.
Thanks, Dave. Had a good time doing it. And have a good week, and cheers.
All right. Thanks. Take care. All right, that was a good interview with Jerry. So I'm going to have right now the Naked Sparkling Ufloric. This is hop and hemp-infused water. I had the citrus one. I did a video of that, so check that out over on YouTube and TikTok. You could find the review of the citrus, which I liked. So I'm looking forward to just the plain Naked one here. Well, it's a hop water, so you're not looking for color or anything like that, but it's nicely carbonated. Yeah, you definitely get that hemp aroma. That hits me more than the hops here. But, I mean, it smells good if you're into that. Yeah, the hemp is definitely the predominant flavor here. I don't think it's bad. I think it's pretty good. It's refreshing. I'm trying to put my finger on the type of hops, and I don't really get anything. The hemp is so strong with this that I'm not picking up any of the hop notes. But no, I like it. I think it's really good, and I would definitely pick this up again if I were to see this in my area. And everyone listening should go out and buy this so they'll distribute more and come to Illinois where I could drink this. But no, I think it's really good. I know the brewery, I was there years and years ago. I thought it was really good when I had their stuff. This is good as well. So once again, thank you to Jerry for coming on and talking and sending me a couple Uflorics. I like this. I think this is good. So if you like hop waters, you want something that's non-alcoholic, that has a little, taste. You get the hemp here. There's no THC, so you don't have to worry about failing a test if, you were subject to random testing here. I think this is good. So if you see Ufloric, definitely put it in the cart. All right, next up in my Drink Illinois Beer Series is Pacific Plus. This is a collaboration between Sketchbook and Alarmist. The can looks like a can of Pacifico. I mean, if you weren't paying attention, you might think it was Pacifico. But this is a tropical Chicago lager, 5.3% alcohol. They're calling this a West Coast Pilsner, and it's hopped with all sorts of hops. So I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued. So let's crack open this Pacific Plus. It has a nice, beautiful color. It looks like your just old school macro lagers. Yeah, you do get those tropical notes from like a New England IPA in this. So it is weird. It kind of plays with your senses, but it smells really good. There's good carbonation on here. That's pretty good. I will say it's interesting. There's so much going on here. Like, it's a lager. So my mind is playing tricks on me. It's expecting a lager, but then you get all these hop flavors that is just throwing me all off. It tastes really good. It has that nice, clean lager finish, but then you get like all these hops are lingering in your mouth. I think this is good. If you're a fan of lagers, you're a fan of New England IPAs, I think this is something you need to put in the cart and give a try. I picked this up at Bottles and Cans in a mix pack, but I would definitely grab this in a 4-pack, whether I was at Sketchbook or Alarmist. I would buy a 4-pack of this. I think it's really good. Let me have some more. Yeah, that's just good. And at 5.3% alcohol, it's not going to get you buzzed. I like it. I think it's kind of like the best of both worlds. So if you see Pacific Plus from Sketchbook and Alarmist, by all means put it in the cart and drink Illinois beer. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. And once again, I want to thank Jerry from Lone Tree Brewing. Also, you need to go find you some Ufloric. I think that stuff is really good. Have a great week, everyone. I'll talk to you next week on the show. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.